you make this decision, you kind of weather this discomfort over a series of months. But you did this on your own. Like, you didn't go to AA. You sort of course corrected. You had this sense about yourself, like, this is headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Left unchecked. This is going to go to a dark place. And what's interesting is all of the discomfort that persisted for month after month. Like, there's a difference between abstinence and emotional sobriety, right? Like, as I often say, the drugs and the alcohol aren't the problem. They're the solution, right? Like, they're your best friend because they're allowing you to divert all those uncomfortable feelings that you experience in various situations. And then when you remove it, you're like a live wire with all these emotions. And it's confusing because you've never really had to confront them, because every time they come up, you just take a drink and they go away, right? So what is your relationship with that discomfort? Like, how did you quell it? Or, what is your way of like working through whatever that is so that you can be in this place of feeling like, I'm good, I'm me, I can go anywhere, and I don't have that compulsion?
It definitely took a while to get to a place to feel comfortable going into bars and pubs and stuff like that. I think the realization for me was that I'm a very confident person, but I'm more confident when I'm pretending to be someone else, because the ramifications of your actions aren't real because you're pretending. So I would get really uncomfortable and not confident in social scenarios out in public. And
when you're just being you.
When I'm just being myself. And I think that's why I really latched onto drinking, because it masked that insecurity with stupidity, I guess, a little bit. That's why, like, I've always had a really hard time with like campaigns. Like, I did a Prada campaign, which I loved, and I loved working with them. They were great. But I had a really hard time seeing me on a billboard sell something, because it was me, Tom Holland, not as a character. So I think that's kind of why I latched onto it so much. And through perseverance and kind of gritted teeth and FOMO of not wanting to miss out, I would force myself to go to bars and go to pubs and enjoy the beer garden for the football. And when I realized that alcohol wasn't masking my insecurity or bringing out my best self, it was actually doing the opposite. I then started to feel this freedom of like, oh, I can just be myself and I have nothing to be insecure about. That's when it started to get easier. And I started to really feel the benefit of not being kind of tied to this drink. I used to remember going to parties in LA because at the beginning, as a young kid, you try to fit into the LA world. And now that I've grown up a little bit and I know that it isn't my place to be, I don't try as hard to like go out to the LA parties and mix with celebrities that I don't know. But I used to go to these parties and be like, I can't speak to someone until I'm drunk. Like, I've got to get this going. And now that I've kicked that and I found replacements that make me feel like I'm a part of the process without sacrificing my morning, my afternoon, my next few days, has been so liberating.
Well, the real gilded opportunity in all of this is that it pulls the covers off all of those emotional wounds or weaknesses or fears or insecurities and puts you in a position where you have to look at them.
You got to deal with it.
And so here is your opportunity. Like, why is it that like I'm in movies and I go to a party and I feel insecure when I have to be myself? Like, what's beneath that? Like, what's driving that? Like, why would I feel that way?
Sure.
And I think like running towards that is the path of healing. Like, how do, going beneath the surface, like what led me to feel this way and how can I kind of untie those knots so that I could go anywhere and just feel good in my own skin. And I think, sobriety is tricky. Like, if somebody just has an occasionally problematic relationship with alcohol, maybe there isn't some deep-seated dysfunction that really needs to be dealt with. But if you truly have a problem, to me, in my experience and kind of being in this role for a very long time, like there's always something to look at there. And you're presented with this choice. You can either like grip the edge of the table and like white knuckle it, but that's not a great strategy. At some point, you're going to crack, right? Instead, you have to release and like be, again, to what we were talking about earlier, like in this place of acceptance and surrender that is so much harder than anything you've ever had to do where you're using your self-will. It's like a releasing of your self-will. But that's the real gift, right? If you have the courage to like run towards that. And so I guess I'm just curious, like, did that prompt you to do some therapy or to really look at that stuff? Or how have you kind of confronted yourself in those, deeper ways?
I'm really lucky that I've got people around me that I'm very comfortable speaking openly with. They're by no means like professionals and able to unpack things in the way that a pro would be able to. But I've just been very open with my family, with my friends. My friends all drink. And, we've had so many conversations about why I'm giving up or how it's going, or they've decided to take a little break and they're asking me for help on, what's the best way to do this. Facing those demons is just, again, something I sort of did by myself. The idea of like sort of pulling my socks up and being like, your mates are going to the pub. You're not going to not go because you want to hang out with your friends. You've been away for 6 months. You haven't seen them. So you kind of just got to grit your teeth and bear it. And the more I kind of did that, the more I could kind of let go and relax. And then the more I let go and relax, the more I started to feel the benefits of being free and having a life enriched and enjoying the freedom from alcohol. So no, I didn't ever really seek professional help. I just had great family and friends.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
I feel like culture is shifting. There